So hello and welcome everyone. My name is Susan Langford. I manage this Career Development Network program. And before we get started, I always like to walk people through some of the resources that we have here at NCBiotech for that can help you out if you're searching for a job. So the first is our company directory. This is a fully updated directory of all of the life sciences companies within the state of North Carolina. And it's fully searchable. So if you're looking for a company that does, let's see, that does biomanufacturing, you can search on that search term and pick a region that you want to stay in, and it'll pull up all the companies doing work related to that. So this is a great way to come up with a list of target companies doing work that you think you'd like to do. Next, we have our Career Center, which is another way of saying jobs board. So this lists all of the opportunities within the state. These are all biotech opportunities. And it's very inexpensive for companies to post on our jobs board. So you're going to see positions here for some of the startup companies that don't have the funding to post their positions on some of the larger jobs boards. You can also set this up to alert you when jobs come up that fit your criteria. I invite you to join our LinkedIn community. We have, I think, over 3,500 members. Actually, that number has gone way up. But this is a great way to leverage social media. If you want to meet people working at companies that you're interested in, or try to find someone to do an informational interview with, this is a great way to expand your network through LinkedIn. We also have a biweekly newsletter called The Dish that you might be interested in. The newsletter contains information about jobs, training opportunities, events, and just general news. We support over 20 exchange groups. These are networking groups that are focused on different topic areas. So we have a very active one on biomanufacturing and process development. There's one for plant molecular biology, Triangle Women in STEM. The list goes on. So pretty much whatever field you're in, you can find a group to network with. And there's more information about that on the website. And so again, Career Development Network, we do these events monthly, and all of the sessions are recorded and can be accessed on our YouTube channel. So this is a great way to have a monthly networking opportunity. And then we have on our website a careers and training site. This can help you narrow down an area in the life sciences that might be of interest to you, and what kind of training you need, kind of some salary information. And so I encourage you to check that out. And so now I'm going to introduce our speaker. Lori Andrews is a career coach and former recruiting leader with more than 35 years of experience helping people navigate career transitions and professional growth. She's worked at the North Carolina Department of Public Instruction, UNC Chapel Hill, SAS, and SciQuest, where she recruited and hired the company's first 75 employees. Prior to launching her career coaching business, she spent 10 years leading global career development at SAS, helping employees grow their careers, pursue new opportunities, and strengthen leadership skills. Her background in both recruiting and coaching gives her firsthand insight into what employers value and what helps candidates stand out in today's market. Through her coaching business, she works with students and professionals to help them gain career clarity, improve interviewing skills, and develop practical job search strategies to differentiate themselves in a competitive market. She also serves as a volunteer career coach and workshop facilitator with Neighborhood Workforce Development Center, where she supported job seekers for several years. So please join me in welcoming Lori. Hold on. Spoiler alert. Okay. So, you know, what's so funny is I think about my background in HR and career development and how, for those of you who know me or anybody who knows me knows that I'm the last person that would be doing anything with regard to technology or AI. But, and I'm also not a keynote speaker and a speaker. I am obviously very passionate about career development. But about 18 months ago, what happened was I got so ingrained in this whole AI revolution, and I saw directly how it was impacting my own clients. And so I became a huge advocate because today's market, as you all know, you're probably all job seekers, that it's a tough and challenging one, and it has all kinds of impact on people. So that is the reason why I'm here, is because I would like for you to walk away not only not being an AI expert, but to just have a couple of really practical things that you can use as you are navigating your own job search. So, I mean, it's going. So we're going to go on kind of this little journey today, and we have 3 stops. The first one is the realities of the landscape. And we're going to talk a little bit about what companies are doing and then what this actually means to you. Then we'll take a stop, and this is where we'll spend most of our time, is using AI as a strategic partner. We'll go through the actual job search process, and then we'll talk about how we can use AI through each one of those stages. And then I provide a checklist for you as well. And then finally, we'll end up with the road ahead and how can you keep your at your best as you're navigating this whole thing, because it can, as we all know, it can get really tough. All right, so some realities of the new landscape and how companies are using it. So there are 3 main ways that companies are using AI. One is the sourcing, and this is how they are finding new employees. So it used to be that that recruiters would look for people who were open to work. And now what's happening is that AI is constantly scanning profiles and the job search databases and communicating with candidates that could or may not be even in the job search. So that there's a lot of reaching out with sourcing that companies are using AI for. The second way is the screening, and this is who decides that they get the interview. And it used to be, because I was one of these, that the recruiter would get the resume and then you'd review it, you'd compare it to the job description or the posting, and then you would either reject them, and then it would send an email to them, or you would move them forward in the process. So now what's happening is that there are these applicant tracking systems that are taking over everything from bringing in the candidates to actually ranking them and looking at keywords and deciding whether you are accepted or you are rejected. So ATS systems are huge. And then the interviewing, it used to be at least it was a phone call that the recruiter would call and say, oh, we want to learn a little bit more about your background and get some of the basic information. A lot of that's not happening much anymore because AI is scheduling interviews. It's actually doing the interviews. And so, and it's also not only doing the interviews, but it is analyzing the information that you're telling in that interview.
So a lot of changes, a lot of ways that companies are using it. A fun fact is that, oh, and my computer's stuck. There is no fun fact. Okay, there's our fun fact. 87% of companies are using some kind of AI somewhere in their search. I'm sorry, this is jumping. So what does this mean to you, right? So this means that we have to learn to work with it and not against it, because we need to adapt, embrace, adapt, and then use it to even go a step further into leverage. And that is with the sourcing that, the companies are looking for candidates. So we need to be searchable, right, on LinkedIn. We also need to have a resume that stands out and that is also help getting all the keywords. From screening standpoint, you want to make sure that you are ATS friendly, and we're going to look at one that's ATS friendly so that we'll know what that looks like. And then we will look at some interviews as well. How do you use AI for communicating your value? And this is that you need to be so prepared, and you need to be making sure that you are comfortable with the AI bots or the video interviews, all of that. So this is how we as job seekers really need to learn how to use AI to our advantage, because the people who know how to use it are going to be the ones that have the main advantage. Okay, so we have a basic understanding of what the companies are using it, and also how we as job seekers need to think about it. And so now it is important that we learn how to use AI as a strategic partner, because I believe that the same technology that's changing and that's taking on all of these hiring processes and practices is also the same technology that's going to be helping us find jobs and getting more creative. So it's really not about using AI more, it's about using it strategically. So that's what we're going to be talking about for most of this session. And that is that job search process, and then some final tips as we finish each section. All right, so the job search process has many stages, but I am recommending that there are 4. And the first one is that you clarify your goals. And this is that you need to know what your direction is so that you'll know when you get there, right? And that it's only that because this is the first stage, you have to understand what you're targeting, because that sets the foundation for everything. So there's clarify goals. The next one is building your brand. And this is your resume. This is LinkedIn. This is the type of networking that you're doing and how you're communicating that value. And then next one is job search. And this is where you find those opportunities and how you might apply. And then finally, it's the interview. So we have obviously offer that comes later, but these are the 4 steps that we're going to focus on today. So there are 2 important things that we're going to be using with regard to strategic AI with this 4-step process. One is, how are we going to use AI? And I am recommending that we use it as an editor, a thought partner, or a personal assistant. And it can be any combination of those, one or all. The other thing that's important is how you write prompts. So there is a format, and this is a very common format. Anybody ever heard of writing race prompts before? If you've done any, working with some of these race prompts is pretty popular. It stands for role, what you're going to ask it, the context, and how to evaluate. And we'll go into a little bit of depth. One of the things that I recommend that if you are stuck, that you start here learning how to do your own, setting your own goals. So that's something that's really important. And as we're getting our AV, and you just also want to be adaptable and flexible when you come to your jobs. I don't know, Sean, is it something I'm doing here? Yes. As I told you, I was not a technology person. You unplug it and plug it back in. It works for even people, right? Unplug.
You're probably just gonna close this.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this just got pulled over there.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. Thank you. Yay. Okay, so clarifying. So we're talking about clarifying goals. And so, the thing you want to ask yourself is, are you looking for your dream job or are you looking for just a job? Because that is going to dictate the rest of this process, right? So, it will, as using it as a thought partner, it will help you identify what's that intersection between what are the things that I'm good at, what are some of the strengths and skills interests that I have, what kind of companies do I want to work for, and what's out there. So it will also help you explore some realistic career options and some of those companies. And it will also help you understand your value, because that's what this is all about, is really how do you understand what you contribute, what your value is, and then how do you communicate that. So before we go too deep into the race prompts, because you will see a lot of race prompts that I'm going to give you today. I don't think Susan mentioned this, but you will all get copies of the slides. So don't feel like you need to make notes or do anything like that. Just kind of kick back and enjoy the show. But and I'm also going to stop in about halfway through, and we'll take some questions as well. So if we think about the race prompt, now this is a really important concept, because this is how you will use AI strategically for just about everything. So for the R, that is, what role do you want AI to play? So do you want it to be a career coach? Do you want it to be a research analyst? The ask is, what task do you want it to do? The context is, what information do you need to add to it? And this will typically be your job, the job description, your resume, maybe some assessments that you might have taken. So that's the context. And then the final one, the evaluate, is how do you want it to answer the question? How do you want it to improve it? Or how do you want it to be critiqued? And so it's important that we all kind of understand this format, because this is what we're going to be using for those 4 stages. Okay, here we go. All right, so if we use the race prompt for the clarifying your goals, you may have it so that you are asking it to be a career advisor, or maybe it's a recruiter, or maybe it's just a best friend, right? And so it's important that you tell it that at the very beginning. You may also ask, hold on, this is, again, technology. You may also ask, like, to help you identify some of those themes and maybe even potential career paths, because again, you're using this to help you as a thought partner, right? And then the context part of this is, you're going to put in, who are you? What are some of your skills? What are your strengths? What are the things that you want to do? What do you not want to do? And what types of company, or maybe even the culture that you're looking for. And then as far as evaluating it, you could ask it to rank the top 5 and then give a reason why. So let's look at an actual race prompt. Now, there's going to be a lot of information on the screen, but we'll just go through it. So this would be a prompt that I would use. So act as an experienced career advisor with expertise in career assessment, transferable skills, and current hiring trends. Help me clarify my career goals so that I can target specific job titles based on my strengths and interests. Identify 10 career paths that are the strongest fit for me. Provide the job title and why I'd be a strong match and any kind of strengths or gaps. And then this is where you would put in some of the information that is your strengths, your education, however, whatever information you want it to know. And then select those top 3 career paths and show me a fit score. I use this a lot, that fit score, because it gives it a context of ranking, and it also and then you can ask it why. So I use that a lot. I want to give you an example of someone that I worked with that had she came to me because she was just applying for everything and she wasn't getting any interviews. Nothing was working. And so I said, well, what are you targeting? She goes, I'm applying for everything. So if you're applying for everything, then there is no target, right? So she was extremely frustrated. And so what we did is we took out she had done the strengths assessment. So if you haven't done that, I highly recommend you take the time. You can do it online. I think it's like $29. It's through Gallup, and you find out what your top 5 strengths are, because this is the best way to get you unstuck, because then you can go back and look at, okay, if these are the things that I'm good at, then ask AI to help you. Okay, so given these are the things I'm good at and these are my interests, give me some job families that I would qualify for, and why would I be a good fit for that? So, asking it for some to clarify your goals is extremely powerful when you're looking at trying to figure out where you want to go. Just a few tips here. One is take the time to explore who you are and reflect. And I know this sounds kind of hokey, and I know that some people are rolling their eyes, but this is so important to really take that time so that you know that what you're targeting is going to be in alignment with who you are. One of the conversations that I had with somebody around their career who was a software developer for 20 years and was miserable. And so I said, well, why did you go into software development in the first place? And he said, well, because my parents told me that was a good field to go into. I said, that's a terrible reason to go into software development, right? So just because you're doing that now doesn't mean that you have to do that next. So really take that time to think about, what are some of the things that energize me, and what are some of the things that I want to spend my time doing. Just because you have the skills doesn't make you a good fit. I am really good at making PowerPoints, but I don't want to do it for a career, right? So just because you're good at something, you need to go deeper, and you need to think about what is it that's really interesting to you. Okay, this is the other thing. You need to have an elevator pitch. It says 15 seconds, but really you can have a 3-second one. That was one of the questions I asked the woman that I was talking earlier about applying for everything. I said, well, what do you want? And she was like, well, I don't know. I'll take anything. I was a coordinator, so I'm going to apply for every coordinator job I can find. And that was just not specific enough for her to not only search, but it wasn't specific enough for her to network. So when somebody says, hey, what do you want to do? She was all over the place, and they walked away from her thinking, God, that girl's a hot mess, right? So if you can come up with something even as simple as, I would like to be a patient coordinator for a hospital. And it's that simple, it's that short, because then people know how to help you. All right, so validate the recommendation. As we know that, AI can have a tendency to hallucinate. So you want to make sure that whatever it's telling you is that you at least talk to people about what it's like to be in those jobs. Of course, AI shouldn't choose your career for you. And then this is something that I ran into as well, is that I was working with someone whose whose same job family and job description was very different when she was looking at some of the other roles that were with other companies. So make sure you understand what those roles are. Okay, so we will move on now to building your brand, and we're going to use this building brand as AI as an editor. And this is going to be how you're help yourself stand out in the market, because it's a lot of people are using it. So we will use it for resume customization and whether it's a fit for you, whatever job you're applying to, LinkedIn optimization, and then cover letters and emails. So I will not cover cover letters and emails in this session because I feel like by the time you finish this, you will know how to use AI and that you can figure that out. So we're going to focus really on your resume and then a little bit on LinkedIn. So before we do that, we talked about an ATS friendly resume. So who in here has applied to a role and then literally 5 to 10 minutes later, you get a rejection email? Yeah, happens a lot. So that is the AI, that is the ATS system doing its job. So it was looking for specific keywords. It found that you didn't have that. And so it sent you a rejection email pretty quickly. So I thought it was important for you to see exactly what does an ATS system-friendly resume look like. And so the big picture here is that it's looking for certain things. And if your resume doesn't have them or they're in the wrong place, it won't accept it because it parses your experience. The first one, contact. All of that information needs to be in the body of the resume, not in the header. So if you've got it in your header now, you need to pull it out. The clean and simple font, don't try to get fancy. Even if you are a designer and you are a creative type, you need to stick with some of these really simple fonts because the ATS systems can't read it. The outline, this is the format that the ATS system is looking for. It is summary, skills, education, or experience, education, and then certifications. If you need a whole new section, fine, but usually it's just under education. Keywords, skills from the job postings. Now, this is actually one of those areas that it's gotten better. I remember when I was a recruiter at SAS, I got somebody's resume and I could not find where they were even qualified for the job that I was looking for. And they had copy and pasted all of the information from the job description and put it on their resume as a second blank page, and they made the font white, right? So those days are over. We don't want to do that. But the system is getting better at, like, if you were a project manager, that you don't really need to have the word like ran scrums, even though you probably would, but it knows now, like if you were a project manager, that you probably did those activities. But I'm still recommending that you use the keywords from the job description. But I would also take out team player. It's overused, hard worker, so I would use that space for something different than those words. The formula, verb, task, and result. So this is something that AI is going to help you do it. So you don't have to learn it right now because we'll ask it to help you. But I see this where it's, I registered patients for intake for a, clinical trial. That might be the resume bullet. Whereas you need something a little heavier there, like developed and scheduled of customers based on, something, and then with some kind of metric, at a 25% over year to year or whatever. But you need to have some kind of metrics attached to it. And the format, I like to use the most recent. Sometimes this doesn't work if you're moving into a different career, and then 1 or 2 pages max. There's this concept that you have to have a 1-page resume. I don't know that I agree with that. I think that 2 pages are fine, especially if you're, later in your career, mid. Okay, so let's look at how you would customize your resume using using a prompt. So the role would be act as an experienced recruiter and professional resume writer. One of the things that when you're asking it to be more than one thing, it's coming at it from two different ways. And the reason why I like this is because you're asking it to get the recruiter side of it, of like, would I put this person through to the next round, right? Or put them through. And then the professional resume writer is the one that's looking at it as, does it make sense, right? And is it saying what you want it to say? Edit my resume bullets using this format, that action, verb, task, and result. There are a lot of resources out there on action verbs. So if you want to just, ask AI to give you some action verbs, there's lots of them out there. And then obviously you want to make sure that it's truthful and ATS friendly. So you put in all your information, and then you ask it to improve readability, avoid sounding AI generated or overly corporate. And for each bullet, explain why is it stronger, any remaining weaknesses, what metrics might make it more compelling. So this is all about how do we customize our resume so that it is aligned with the job description that we're applying for. And then I just want to give you an example. You can't see this or read it. But what I want to show you is this is what it needs to look like. It's very clear. It's very simple. You've got your summary up there. You've got skills. You don't use tables or anything like that. Professional experience, education, and certification. So just to give you a sense of what it should look like. Okay, it's stuck again.
Quick question. So the contact is still in the header, but I think you said before that they're not recommending to have the contact.
That's in the body, and the margins are dragged way up. Yeah.
Excuse me. We need to say the questions into the mic so that the online audience can hear. So I'll pass this over to you.
A great time because we were going to stop anyway for questions. I knew it was coming.
So in the previous slide, you said maximum 15 years for the resume.
Yeah.
So basically you're saying that if someone has, let's say, 20 years of experience, they shouldn't list the last 5 years?
I would not put it as bullets like this because really the most important is what you've been doing recently, right? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I guess if it's in a job that really matters, right? Maybe some research roles, you need to have 20 years of experience, but it's those last 15 years that really matter. You don't want to go back to your working at McDonald's when you were in high school, right?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Okay.
If it matters, then you can put it in there.
Yeah. Makes sense. And
it's on.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah. In my particular scenario, I don't have like 20 years, but I was just curious because I saw that.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you the way that recruiters read resumes, it's called an F scan. And it's basically, they look at your summary and then they go down, look at a couple of bullets on your first job there. And that's kind of like the F scan.
Yeah, I've been part of hiring teams. So not a
up here.
I was not a recruiter technically, but in my last previous company I worked for, like I did interview people like as part of like the recruiter interviews them first and then you're part of the panel. And yeah, you just like scan through stuff, right? Especially the recent stuff, and then whatever catches your eye, you zoom in on. So
that's right.
Makes sense.
I think it's 6 seconds. Something like that.
I didn't time myself, but yeah. And I'm probably was slower than like a recruiter like yourself who like does this a lot. For me, it was more just like 1 or 2 a year, maybe.
Yeah.
So
I will still invite you up here because I'm sure you've got more technology experience.
Engineers, yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I have 2 questions. One is, what if you have your relevant experience, 15 years ago or 20 years ago?
What if the relevant experience is 15 years ago?
Yeah, even before that.
Yeah, well, obviously you need to put that in there if that's your target job. I don't know. I always feel like there is some way, unless it is a complete right turn, that you can take whatever you've done, and this is where AI can help you. Whatever you're doing right now, and to pull out some of the pieces of the job description that can align to what you're applying for. Does that make sense? So like, I don't know, if you were a researcher 20 years ago, and now you've moved into, you're more of a project manager, there's got to be some of the things in the job description for the researcher position that you're applying for that you can pull out and highlight as a project manager
In the recent jobs.
in the recent jobs. And that's where AI really helps.
Just one more question. So you said metrics, right? So it's a little bit tricky. For example, like, you improved the processes, and then because of that, you achieved, 20% of bottom line increase, right?
Mhm.
Well, a lot of people work towards that goal. And when you mention that kind of metric, I mean, you personally did not do, you're part of that. So how the recruiters or the companies take it? I mean, I've been mentioning that a lot, but
Mhm.
I know that, I haven't increased the revenues for 20% just by myself,
Right.
right? It's a
Yeah.
team effort,
Well,
but
that's a really good question. So with everything that you do, there is some way to measure it, right? Even if you were the front desk person, right? The greeter, so that you are, and the metric could be, that I greeted people with, kindness and made sure that they were comfortable 100% of the time, right? So it could be something even as simple as that. Again, AI is going to help you pull those out. What metrics can I use for this type of role? And not every bullet's going to have a metric either. I mean, it doesn't. It's great if you can show some kind of impact. And that, well, for the front desk person, I would maybe even say increasing the company's reputation, or something like that.
Yeah, the quantifiable numbers like, say 2%. I haven't like that.
Right.
When I was there.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Any other questions?
Thank you. Regarding education, and given the 15 years, how far back should you go? And at what point can you trim that down? So as an example, I have a bachelor's degree, a master's degree, and a doctoral degree. And the first two were from long ago and far away. So what I've done, in full interest of transparency, is include all three. But do you need to include all three?
I would.
You would still? Okay.
Especially
you.
because you're probably applying to jobs that require it, right? A doctoral. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you never know what somebody's going to see in in your resume. You may have done a project on something that is exactly what they're targeting. You never know.
I had another piggyback question on that. I've heard varying thoughts about this. Like, if your degree was from, let's say, so mine was from 2013, right? And since then, I've done like work that you need that degree for, right? So, in your resume, do you necessarily need to write the year the degree was obtained, or you just write like the degree, like let's say bachelor's in chemical engineering?
Yeah, this is such a great question, and I could talk about resumes all day. So depending on, like, for the recent graduates, I always recommend that they put their graduation date. So, but once you have had that first job, I would not put it on there anymore, because you don't want to give any hints for any kind of age discrimination to occur. And it's especially helpful if you are in mid or late career. You don't want to have any dates on there. Another thing is, you don't, like, for those of us who grew up in my era, after you have a period, you would put 2 spaces. You only put 1 space. That is another giveaway that somebody might be old.
Really?
Really?
Huh.
So
I need to change how I type.
nuggets. Yeah. So one space. Anything else? Oh, there's a question over here. Run, Susan, run.
Yeah.
Gosh. And then we'll need to move on.
All right. Thank you very much so far for the presentation. I just have some more questions to ask about my resume in relation to my background. So while I was in college, I didn't have an internship. But right now I am currently working on some project activities on my own. So I have like limited professional experience. So I would say I'm more of a junior. What advice would you give to people like me who is trying to break into the enterprise setting and grow on their skills?
Yep, I put it all on there. And I would even have links to, or on your LinkedIn, have links to some projects that maybe you have done so that that can be found. But yeah, you want to put everything that you possibly can. And I'm glad you brought up too about the education. Anybody who's not working right now, I recommend that you get in a class. I don't care what it is, but something that interests you. I recommend an AI class because AI literacy is going to be one of the skills that people are going to be hiring for. So, and then that can be the first thing so that it's not like I'm not working right now. And then so you've got got an end date on your first item of your first job, right? So you can put educational, put what things that you're doing right now, classes.
Okay. I recently enrolled in a cloud engineering class.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah. So
yeah.
current student. Yeah. Put
Okay.
it all.
Thank you.
Yeah. Right, we really need to move on, but yeah, one more question.
In my experience, if my resume repopulates in the job, like,
Mm-hmm.
then it's in a good format. Do you agree with that?
If it populates
Like-
in the parsing tool. and-
Yes, it takes
Yeah.
your name and education.
I would check it every single time.
No, I do
Oh.
check, but that means it's formatted correctly.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yes, I think that's a safe to assume. Mhm.
Thank you.
Okay. And it's stuck again. All right, so now we're going to move to a resume fit. This is my favorite prompt of all times because this is going to tell me how likely I am to get an interview. And and you can also help you make your bullets even stronger. So it might look like act as an experienced recruiter, hiring manager, career coach, and an ATS specialist. Compare my resume to the job description and give me a fit score. Explain how my strengths make me a good match and identify the 3 biggest gaps. Recommend how to address the gaps. And then you'll put your resume and your job description. Some people put LinkedIn profiles, but I'd rather just put those 2. And then explain assumptions that you made and provide key tips on what would make me a stronger candidate. And what you're going to get is amazing. It will blow your mind because you will see exactly what things that how you are a competitive candidate and then how you're not. And you have the ability to actually fix the things that are making you not a competitive candidate. All right, and then LinkedIn optimization, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this one because it's now that y'all know this race prompt concept, you've got it, right? So you want to ask it to help with each one of your sections of your resume, of your LinkedIn profile, and then recommend any improvements. Keyword searches is key here because that's how recruiters find you. Yeah.
Did you draw your profile to public during the time you're searching?
I'm sorry. What's the question?
Yeah, would you make your LinkedIn profile public?
Yeah, no, I would. Yeah, I've cut out so many slides, so now I'm wishing that I'd put some of these in here. But the one thing you do want to make sure is that you're open to recruiters. Make sure that that is a feature on there. So, but yes, definitely public. So that's how they find you. All right, so checklist on the resume. Avoid the M dashes. You've all seen those, right? We want to get rid of, make sure that those are not in there. I have seen people use the as a professional professional headshot. I would make sure that you ask it to keep your face and hair and exactly, and then change the background. And then everything's pointing to your value. Obviously, we talked about keep learning, the searchable keywords on LinkedIn. And remember, we're using this as an editor, not as a copy paste kind of thing. So you definitely want to edit the information that before you actually think of it as the word. And of course, being honest and keeping your own authentic voice. This also is a very big word of caution, and I call this like buzzword soup because it has gotten to the point where people are overusing AI, and so you get a lot of the garbled stuff that just you don't even know what somebody's doing. So you got to be careful about using some of these words. These are the ones that I always take out of people's resumes. So the M dash is that you know, when you do a prompt or something and you get an answer, it's this long dash. The other thing that it does is puts 4 things together, you know, and so you want to make those like 2, maybe 3. Those are just other little hints because, you know, recruiters are starting to be able to recognize these really quickly. Okay, so now we are on job search. So we've clarified our goal and we have got the brand. So this is what our job is here is we're trying to find a job that is aligned to who we are. We will use the editor, thought partner, and as a personal assistant. We'll talk about job sites, networking, and that whole organization and tracking and how do you keep up with all of this. So let's look at how we will look for jobs. So 2 things, the job alerts and then networking. So this is a list of some of the alternative sites that you may not have thought of. I use LinkedIn as my last alternative. Because not all companies are going to post on LinkedIn. It's expensive. So if you're looking at the Fortune 500 companies, yeah, probably look on LinkedIn. Otherwise, look at some of these other smaller ones or other more targeted ones. Of course, NCBiotech has a search feature there that I think would be interesting to y'all. Glassdoor is great if you're looking for employee sentiment or salaries. That's on there. Welcome to the Jungle, Wellfound are 2 that are really focused on startups or early stage companies. So if you're interested in that. Built-in is a good technology one. USA Jobs, more for any of those government jobs and researchers for, you know, federal government. Then the higher ed, of course, higher ed. And then Idealist is a great nonprofit one. So those are just some options for you. And I recommend that you pick more than one job search site just to kind of get a broader perspective. All right, so networking. This is the other way that you are going to search for jobs. And this is what I would say is probably the most important. And you don't even need AI for it, right? So the key thing to think about when you're networking with somebody, and I know it can be really scary, but you want to lead with curiosity. And I believe that people are good people and they want to help other people. So coming at them with a question of, hey, you know, I'm really curious about how you navigated your career. I'm curious about where you see the trends going. I mean, those are all really good questions. And it's hard for somebody to say no when you're asking those types of questions. The one thing you want to make sure is that you are extremely clear on what you're targeting so that it is easy for them to understand how they can help you. And then follow-up is all, it's not just one transactional thing. You're going to, you know, try to make sure that you continue to follow up with them and stay connected. one of the things that I love to tell people is that whenever they talk to somebody is to ask them what are some of their key struggles or challenges right now, whether it's in the role or whether it's in the industry. And then it's really easy to follow up and send them an email with an article that you found, right? So there's also, trying to come up with some creative way for them to remember you. I've introduced myself before, say, oh, I'm Laurie, career coach without an E, because there is a Laurie Andrews that is also a career coach somewhere in the world. So I'm Laurie without the E. So if I reach out to somebody, I might say in the subject line, Laurie without the E. So I'm sure you can come up with some creative way to help people remember you. Okay, so job search. So let's look at a prompt here. Act as an experienced job search strategist with expertise in identifying opportunities beyond LinkedIn. Search several job posting sites and show current openings that closely match the job titles that I'm targeting. Provide direct links to the company pages. This is critical here, is that you do not do the easy apply button ever. You go to the job posting on the job company page, because you get put in a different bucket, so to speak. Then you're going to add your targeted roles, your interests, your resume, targeted companies, and also ask it to provide the company name. And again, your fit score and why it gave you that score. Now, this is when you get the opportunity to say, look, I am not a very good fit for this. And these are some of the hesitations that somebody might have about me. So maybe I can edit my job search. Edit my bullets. And networking here is a prompt. This one is really just about reconnecting. I know that Nellie Scott did another recorded event here on networking. So if you have a time to listen to that, but this is just knowing somebody and reconnecting with them that you've known before. That is the easiest way to network, right? Is to reconnect with someone. So that's what I picked act as an experienced networking coach and a professional communication expert. So you want to write a warm message, making sure that you say this is my goal. I just want to request a 20-minute, informational interview, and some kind of context about how you worked with them. And again, you want to go back to that feeling personal, and making sure that they know that I'm appreciative of your time. Anybody want to take a stab at what % of jobs are filled through networking? 70, 80, 85? Do I hear 90? 90? It's actually 80. Oh, well, but it's not working. So there we go. Okay. Yeah, sure.
So your previous slide looks like a campaign, right? The previous one. So you're reaching out to your network in LinkedIn. Right? Is that what it is? Okay. So do you have any suggestions on how to configure AI to create a campaign? Find out, who are the people in your network and create a campaign to do these things. For example, compose a message to do that. I have used Claude Cowork, but it doesn't have a connection to LinkedIn. But do you have any suggestions how to use AI tools to do this and also create a campaign, get the responses, and then set up schedules, that kind of workflow?
Yes, I am. I can actually pay you because this is our next slide. Okay, so we have been talking about AI as a thought partner, right? So it's just like you're asking questions and you're getting the feedback, and you're editing your jobs, your bullets, and that kind of thing. So I like to think of this as like there's sort of 3 layers, so to speak, to AI. That's the one we've been talking about mostly. There's also this organization layer that's more like a project manager, where you create a tracker and that you can use it for whether it's tracking your networking or tracking your job, the ones you've applied for. I always recommend that you do some kind of tracker so that you have those available. Then there's the automation layer, which is what I think you're talking about. And this is really the job here is really not for the AI to think. It's really just to move information. And this is a elevated skill, and it's a skill that I do not have. I understand the concepts of it, so that if you are already further along in your AI literacy, this is something that you can look into. I would not recommend it because you lose some control, right? I did read an article recently about some guy that was on the golf course that got a text message that said that he had just applied to 65 jobs, right? So he had figured out all the automation to update it, do his resume and apply and give you the list of the ones that you've applied for. So I don't particularly think that that's a good idea, but I think that it's kind of get to that point where a lot of people will be doing that. I don't know. I just feel like you kind of lose control, and I worry about the quality of your resume as you're lobbing it all out there. Hold on.
So there are some resume matching applications that do some of that. Truthfully, I don't let any of them write my bullet points for me. They're tackier than a kid's movie. But I did want to hear your thoughts on, say, JobScan or Teal, where you can have a master resume list. And in there, you can have your targeted bullet points for, say, a technical writer or a project manager or something different.
Yeah, I've heard of Teal. I looked into it. There's also like I wrote it down, careerflow.ai is also another one that's really good. So those are, some of them are paid, some of them are not paid. I don't, but I've heard of Teal. And I would say that if you're comfortable with it and you like what the output is, it's kind of like the difference in using Claude and ChatGPT, right? It doesn't matter what you use. I mean, I tend to use Claude a little bit more for resume bullets, but if you're liking what ChatGPT is giving you, and if you're liking what Teal does, then stick with it, right?
I can offer that. I've had experience with Teal.
Oh, good.
And another product that I've just recently found to like better is called Hunter X, HUNTRX. It is free. Okay. They both are CRMs, contact relationship management tools, and they have embedded AI in them. They will bring the job application, job description in. They'll do the compare, the ATS match, the reformatting, the cover letter, store all of it, put it in the tracker inside of the system, send you reminder messages and follow-ups. So it's your way of managing yourself all in one house.
Yeah, that's great. And it's called Hunter X. Hunter X. Okay, great. It's a great resource. All right. Okay, quick checklist, because I know we're at time here, Susan. I'm working on it. So online sites, alerts, for several sites, you go to the company web pages, networking, you know more people than you think. So really think about who's on that list for you, attend your local career fairs. Kudos to you for being here and showing up, because that's half the battle. And then practice your introductions and ask about challenges. I already told you that. And then organization and tracking, start small until you get better at it. Ghosting roles are real, so just know that. Also the I can't even read that. Recruiters reaching out randomly. Yeah, so be careful about those things and scams, because I've heard so many different scams that have happened recently that are, it's a little scary. So make sure that you are checking out the company of the recruiter that is reaching out to you if you get somebody reaching out. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember while I was in college pursuing internships, because actually almost fell for a scam because I didn't know anything about jobs. Real.
Yeah.
Especially
Oh, it's real. Yeah.
even for college students trying to get internships.
Yes.
But one day this employer sent me a check to go and buy materials. And yeah, that was like, it looked so real. And I was tempted to go and deposit.
Yeah. You got to be very careful. Right. Good. That's great. Yeah, you get those little senses. Okay, interviewing, and we're on the home stretch here. Being confident and being prepared are the main things that we want to use AI for, is to help you with that. And I've seen how this has really helped. The company research and interview prep. We'll go through these really quickly, and I'll just point out some things here. So this is really to help you with when they say to you, what questions do you have for me? You never want to say, I think you got it, I'm good. So you want to always come prepared with 3 questions or so. And again, I always like the one of, what are some of the biggest challenges? Because it's an easy way for you to follow up. But you definitely want to come away with some questions. Interview prep, as again, you want it to taking the job description and your background, asking it for some of those interview questions, using the STAR format. That's the situation, task, action, and result. Again, metrics. If you don't know what STAR is, that you also can look that up, because it's a great format to answer questions. And asking AI to help you format some of your answers is going to be really powerful. Checklist, company research, definitely know who you're interviewing with, who you're interviewing, and then what do they do. The thing about interviews is that that makes it so that it's less stressful is that knowing that you are there to check out that company just like they're there to check you out. And because you have a say in that, even if you are moved on to the next round. And let's see. Know your nerves. This is huge. So whether you work with a career coach, whether you work with a best friend, your spouse, whatever, you need to know, what is it that you do when you get nervous? I have an interviewing for impact workshop. It has an hour coaching session with it. And this is exactly what we work on. But, some people talk more, some people clam up, some people don't look at the camera, but you got to know what those nerves are. That's really powerful to be able to work through those. Don't wing your interviews. Okay, so as we finish this up, so the 2 things that you need to keep in mind, that there is a road ahead in the job as you kind of get more and more rejections. It is part of the process. And taking on, what is it that you're going to do to keep yourself in a well-being state is critical. Self-care, whatever that is, eating, sleeping, exercising, whatever that is, definitely you want to look at that and make sure that you're doing what you can. Tracking the small wins. With the clients that I work with, I never say, okay, we're going to tell me next time, how many did you apply for? Would never say that. It's going to be, how many people did you reach out to? What bullets did you tweak on your resume? Something other than just that one thing of how many applications. asking for support. That is something that a lot of us don't like to do because we want to think, oh, I've got this, right? There's nothing wrong with asking for support. And it might be as simple as talking to your friends. Hey, I'm really struggling with this whole job search thing. Can you just check in on me once a week? That would be great. Staying connected to some of the events like you're doing. It is a process, and it is not you. Rejection and the ghosting, all of that is all just part of the process. And you know that if somebody said to you, you know what, you've got 50 no's coming, but then there will be a yes, that you would think that a little differently once you got that no. You're like, okay, I got one more no. Here we go. I'm closer to my yes. And then once you've applied, move on. Don't think about it anymore. That's the best way to kind of keep you focused on the right thing. So, okay, so because this is so important, this whole well-being is so important, and I've seen it with all of my clients really, is that there's this frustration, there's this just sense of just, desperation, hopelessness. One of the things that I'm doing or considering doing, and so if you're interested, you can go on my website and sign up for it, is a group coaching session where I spend 10 minutes just talking about some random topic and then just open it up to everybody else. Just some kind of sharing to support each other, because what's funny is that all of the clients that I'm working with are seeing the exact same thing, but they don't realize that other people feel the exact same. So you need somebody, whether that's me, whether that's your friends or whatever, but the struggle's real. I do know that. Okay. So we've talked about the landscape. We've talked about the job search process. There are 3 things to remember. 1, focus on what you can control. And this is technology, right? But you need to be that human in the loop. Don't ever let this take over you, because you're the one with the value. This has to do with even with networking and with whatever you're learning, but just make sure that you focus on what you can control. Second is being open to rerouting. You never know what these conversations or what you're looking for that shows up in some of these searches, in these the AI prompts, is that it might be something, a career that you've never even thought of. So be open to some of that and, chase those down, see what they mean. And then finally, refuel regularly. This is what I just talked about your mindset, your energy, your well-being, because that's what's really more important. And honestly, as more and more AI becomes common, that I think that these human skills are going to be the things that set us apart. So, just you want to protect yourself and protect your energy. Okay, so I hope you've learned at least a few nuggets. I know that it can be tough out there. You do not have to do it alone. So let me know if I can be your personal co-pilot. But I hope that you have learned a few nuggets here and there, and that as you carry on and navigate your job search, you feel a little bit more informed, and that you're able to navigate it a little bit better. Okay.
Thank you so much, Lori.
Lori. Thank you.
We do have a final comment over here.
In the spirit of using AI, one more race, if you don't mind. When you went to interview prep, it can be a really beautiful tool to set up a prompt and say, act as if you are, insert hiring manager's title, or even name if you know who they are, right? And then go through the prompts of create for me 3 or 7 interview questions they would ask based on the gap analysis in my resume, right? And the job requirements. And it will come back and it'll give you those questions, and then it will actually prompt you to answer them, and then it will test your answer.
Yeah. And I'm glad you brought that up, because that is the talk feature on AI, on these chats. It's great, because then it really can analyze how you're answering it. And it's a great way to practice. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you very much, of course. Again, I have a question about the initial screening phase that you were discussing, specifically for LinkedIn. So there is something called SSI, which I think stands for Social Score Index. How much that is part of the screening phase that company screening us as candidates? I'm really curious about that.
I do not know the answer to that question. I don't know if anybody knows the answer, but I do know that the LinkedIn's recently redone a lot of the algorithms around like how much you show up in in the search results.
It's pretty high. It's actually pretty high. It was over 75% impacting you. And I'll tell you why I know this, because I did some research. And I brought it back. I haven't published it yet, but I'm intending to do so. That algorithm had a significant bias against women over 35 to age 70. And it was structured because it was trained by male profiles. And the question responses were structured the way men would typically reply. For example, a man might use a little AI and pumps up proficient. A woman will do it for 3 years and consider herself not yet proficient. So you were underrepresented and you were actually ruled out. Plus, because of your age, they were scoring your age. So when you said apply directly to the company and not through LinkedIn, that is so massively profound right now because you are being filtered out by the LinkedIn algorithm. Another reason why companies are pulling away.
Yeah, I have a love, mostly hate relationship with LinkedIn, and I know that we need to be there, but
They're working on it. But
I don't do a whole lot on LinkedIn, so I probably should, but I don't.
Hey, I just had one quick question. So in the, I guess today, like interviews, is it still like suit and tie, is what you show up to like an interview with? And I haven't interviewed externally in like 13 years, right? So back then it was like, yeah, you go in a suit and tie, right? So now with like, your first screen might be a video one, maybe, right? Or, even if you do have in-person interviews, like when does it make sense to really wear a suit and tie for, let's say, a professional engineering role?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it depends on what job you're applying for, right? I mean, I've worked with landscapers and I've worked with, marketing professionals. So I think it just depends on what you're interviewing for. So if you're interviewing for an executive role, I would definitely say a coat and tie. What are some of the engineers out there say? You wear do they wear ties to work? Yeah.
But in the past, they're always
button up. I mean, it's always better to be overdressed than underdressed. So that would be my recommendation. Is if you're on the fence, go nicer.
Almost every time.
Yeah, that's good. I know we're.
Thanks. I was just going to say, with regard to the question of what to wear on the interview, certainly what you said, Lori, always make the error on the side of you're taking it more seriously, but you can also find tons of things and also look for information regarding what their culture is, what the other executives are wearing. Go out, look at their homepage, check out their leadership photo. Is everybody in suits? Then you kind of know. But there's lots of information out there.
Good point.
I want to go back to LinkedIn and resume. You said don't put more than 15 years. I suppose in LinkedIn, you need to put all your history, right?
I would, yeah.
Yes. So related to LinkedIn, I have another question. For people who are like switching between field, like coming from academia to, let's say, industry or R&D to manufacturing, only so much information you can put if you are applying for both kind of roles, like many of us do. So what do you suggest? Like, how do you tailor or make your LinkedIn so that if recruiter from both field looking at it, they are not like typecast you, oh, he's academic or
Right. Yeah,
manufacturing.
and that's another great question. The way that I recommend is that you find some common threads throughout both of the roles that you're looking for, or the areas, right? And so that your about section is broad enough that it will capture both, right? And you might be erring on the side of being too broad and not specific enough, but that's what your resume is for, right? So if you think about LinkedIn, your job on LinkedIn is to get found and to be searchable. So you want to make sure that you have any keywords that any recruiter could use to search for any role that you're interested in. That's my recommendation. I'm sure there's others.
So please join me in thanking Lori.
Yeah, thank y'all. Thank you.
And we're going to have another networking session out in the lobby for another 15 minutes or so. And regarding LinkedIn, our next event, our August event, we're having a speaker who is going to speak about LinkedIn. So, so be sure to join us for that one.
All right. Need that. Yeah, I should probably. Is it daily? Yeah. So I think. Yeah. Definitely. That was how I started to get into it. Yeah. And then you put completion date or whatever the completion estimate is, or like ongoing or something. Oh, yeah, just definitely put it on there. Yeah. Somebody I'm working for is actually taking an AI certification course just to have it on her resume, and she got in process. That's what she have written on her resume. Yeah, but you definitely want to check it out. Yeah. Thank you.
See your presentation.
Yeah.
School.
Yeah.
Because I mentioned I started.
Yeah. She was really good in the beginning, but I had you kept up with some of the older stuff. I like that. I'm sure that.
Get something going. Like I did this morning.
I actually took away my.